Beth Phoenix, mom of two, Hall of Famer, former WWE Divas Champion, and a three-time WWE Women's Champion. I am so excited to welcome you to the Fieldswell Podcast.
Thanks, Lauren. I'm so happy to be here on this
Huh.
cozy December evening.
Cozy. I hear you're calling in from Asheville, North Carolina, a little bit colder where you are.
Yes. We expect our heavy winter months to be January, February, but winter came early this year. And it's nice. Actually, we've had some snowfall. We had a snow day and the kids got to stay home. So we've been making the most of this wild weather.
I love that. The holiday season is alive.
Yes, big time.
So you've had an incredible life trajectory from breaking barriers in women's wrestling, transitioning to family life, and now building an incredible wellness brand, Pure Plank, which I can't wait to hear more about. I couldn't decide where I wanted to begin, but I feel like the best place to start is to go into what initially sparked your love for wrestling.
Oh gosh, that's easy. So I'm the first American-born citizen in my family. My family's all from Poland, and they all came to the States looking, to escape communism and start a life here and build a life based in freedom. And they didn't speak the language. My family didn't speak. They spoke Polish was their first language. So as they were getting plugged in here and making their way in the United States, on an entertainment standpoint, it was difficult to understand the programming that was all in a different language. So pro wrestling was amazing for my family because you didn't need to speak English to understand the stories that the wrestlers were telling. So I grew up watching pro wrestling with my grandparents, and my grandmother and grandfather were just enamored by the characters. There was a lot of nationalism at that time. There was a Polish wrestler that came out with the flag. And so it was a part of our household from a very, very young age. And I just saw how much it affected people and how the storytelling could just invoke so many feelings and emotions in you, especially as a little kid. We didn't have a lot growing up. So it was just a real special bonding time for our family and crazy also. It's super fun and crazy. So that was kind of my intro into the wrestling world.
Were there any female wrestlers on the screen or were they all males?
Well, this was the mid 80s. So there were females. There were a few,
Okay.
very few, but women were often in the role of the supportive role. We were used as managers and, beauty, it was like the standard of beauty. Like, so the women were the contingent of attractiveness and sexuality, and not necessarily the ones in the ring. And so it was really interesting to me to see like the lack of representation of females in the athletic side of things as a kid. Where's the girls?
Where are the girls at?
Yeah.
So do you remember what age you were watching that TV screen, maybe thinking, I want to do that?
Yeah. So I remember the shift from like, I love this. It's like comic books come to life. It was about 1994. I saw a match. It was Bret Hart versus Owen Hart, which were two very technical, very iconic Canadian wrestlers. And they told a story. They were two brothers that had a match. And it resonated so deeply with me, like watching these brothers fight and the story that they told, that I was like, I want to make others feel the way I feel right now. It was just this powerful like connection. And I loved how, engaged I could feel that engagement from watching this story that they were telling. I was like, somehow, some way, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but I have to figure this out.
And what was the path that you then took? I know that you were on your high school wrestling team, but what was the path you took?
Yeah, so I knew nothing of pro wrestling. There was no book written on how to do it or anything. So my practical mind was like, okay, there's a boys wrestling team at my high school. So if I want to be a pro wrestler, I'll begin as an amateur wrestler. Like I thought that had a connection. Little did I know. Pro wrestling is all performance and completely different. It helps to have a foundation and base in amateur wrestling, of course. But it did not open those doors. That was a whole different path that I had to take. But it did help me in learning resilience and just, trying to kind of deal with a lot of the physicality that pro wrestling required.
Right. I'm sure. I mean, it's an uncharted path. I wouldn't know where to start aside from just starting, which is what you often have to do when there isn't a clear pathway to get somewhere. And that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, I mean, I just started walking forward. I didn't know, I had no idea where I was going. It was a little bit of uncomfortable, I guess, hope and a prayer at some points, just being like
Yeah.
a starving artist. And that's how it was, kind of on my journey when I started finding local wrestling shows, like professional wrestling shows to perform on when I didn't know anything. I didn't know anyone. I was just kind of showing up and introducing
Yeah.
myself and being a pest until they gave me opportunities. And I made a lot of great friends that would, get me in the ring a little bit before the show and show me a few things so that I could kind of learn as I went. And that's kind of the way it was for women at that time because there was just so few of us. We were
Yeah.
just figuring it out.
A
One
little
step.
bit, a little bit of a fish out of water, but you were so committed to it.
I just knew in my heart, I was like, I was really young. And there just wasn't another option for me. I didn't want anything else in my life as much as I wanted to be a performer at that time. And I wouldn't take no for an answer. I don't know how else to put it other than I was a pest. I was a big pest. I wouldn't go away.
Was there a moment where you felt like you met either a coach or a mentor who really changed the game for you and really felt like you got to the next level?
Yeah, so many.
Mhm.
There's so many names I could spend
Sure.
hours, naming all the
Sure.
people who helped me along my way. But what's wonderful about pro wrestling is it's an art, not a science. And so thus, like any great artist, I feel like you can pull a little bit from one person that's willing to teach, pull a little bit
Mhm.
here, a little bit there, and then shape your own
Mhm.
technique and your own brand
Mhm.
just from learning and watching and taking
Yeah.
tidbits that others want to share. And if I always loved that if I showed up with an open heart and open ears, everyone
Mm.
was willing to share and teach.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it was really nice on my journey. I learned a lot of cool things and met so many great people. Just
That's
too.
beautiful. Too many to name. I'm with you. So I can relate as an athlete. I started riding horses when I was 6 years old and quickly was at the stable every single day riding numerous horses a day. And I probably trained with 5 or 6 different trainers in my whole tenure of being an equestrian. And they all teach you something different. And they're all great for whichever stage you are in.
Yeah, and I think when you see a young person that, isn't there just on a whim like yourself, like showing up and being there for the long haul, first to get there, last to leave, being
Right.
attentive, like that, you see that and you're inspired by
Mhm.
that as somebody that has some experience and you're like, I want to help you. Like if you want this, I'm going to give
Right.
you some of the answers to the test, to try
Yeah.
to come along.
I feel like they almost see like a younger, for me at least, it was like seeing a younger version of themselves in you, someone who really was devoted and committed and wanted to become the best that they could.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely I encountered that on my journey, and then now flip the coin myself
Mm,
again in career. I feel like I've had the opportunity to share some lessons that I've learned with
yeah.
the young and up and comers who are amazing. So it's
Mm.
kind of neat how the wheel rolls. The wheel
It
rolls.
does, right? It really does. So I'd love to hear about you trying out for WWE. What was that like for you? Bring us back to that moment.
Yeah, so I wish I could say it was like this one big tryout and like remember the 8 Mile, the Eminem movie? I'm totally
Yes.
myself, but like you only got one shot. Do not miss your chance to blow. It absolutely was not like that. It was a series of defeats and rejections and maybe next times. And
Mhm.
again, I just would not go away, but I wouldn't trade that experience for anything because some people were put in a position to sink or swim really early in their careers. And that's a tough spot to be in because if you make a big mistake on a grand stage, there's sometimes no coming back from that. You get a perception and it's hard to undo that. And myself, I was fortunate to just be climbing one little rung at a time with many setbacks in which gave me opportunities to learn and not make those same mistakes again. But I did have a tryout that was extremely stressful that I can remember my very first time backstage where I thought it was going to be the one shot. They look at me and it's either yes or no, and that's the end of it. And I remember being timid to get in the ring for my tryout match. This
Mhm.
was before the live show. So there was no audience. It was just all the wrestlers watching, the peers, which may have been more stressful. And the gentleman that was in charge of the women's division at that time, Fit Finley, was an extraordinarily talented man that really, really took the women under his wing and helped us all. I was standing by the ring really scared, and he looked me up and down. He looked at my wrestling boots, which I had saved my money to buy. I had these beautiful wrestling boots. And he looked at my feet and he goes, "Are those ballet shoes?" And like, I was so stunned and scared. I'm like, "No, sir, they're wrestling shoes. They're wrestling boots." He goes, "Well, get in the ring and prove it. Get in the ring and show me, you know?" And so it was like one of those little moments where I was like, whew, here goes. And it was out of body experience getting in the ring, and my first opportunity in front of, being seen, which of course didn't go well. And I didn't get hired that day.
Okay.
It gave me my first taste of
Yes.
what that life was like. And I just wanted more.
Wow. You were in it.
I was in it.
I love it. So many fans have expressed and talked about Glamazon and how it's inspired them embrace their inner being. And I know that you chose these incredible outfits and it decided to express who you are on the inside, on the outside. And it gave this expression of beauty and strength. And I don't know if that had been seen before in wrestling.
There was a couple, I had predecessors, absolutely,
Okay.
that were dabbling with, we had a woman named China who had a presentation. She was just this woman sculpted from marble, beautiful physique and powerful. She was presented powerful. And just like melding the strength and beauty aspect of it, like a living Wonder Woman. I was heavily influenced by her. There was a Japanese wrestler named Bull Nakano, same, just a, powerful, beautiful woman, stylish, really cool hairdo,
Yes.
like mohawks and stuff. And it was important to me to stand out. At the time, the brand for the women in WWE was more subtle, more Victoria's Secret, more soft girls. And I showed up wearing a cape and spikes and, a Wonder Woman headband, which was not really on brand at that time.
Okay.
It was a little more superhero-y, a little larger than life. I just knew I had to brand myself as something a little bit different, and the crowd connected with that. And I tried to match my in-ring performance with that presentation. I wrestled with a wrestler, like, I was hard to take down. I was the big, burly, sometimes I played the part of the bully. But I think that it was inspiring to see, for when I'm told by fans that it was inspiring to see a girl with a different body shape, a little bit a different body composition than the group. And that helped them and gave them encouragement.
Yeah, I loved all the outfits that I've seen online on the videos that are available. And I also really enjoy how you say how much you liked connecting with the audience when you were in the ring. What did that feel like for you? And what did that connection mean to you?
It meant everything to me. I especially loved performing for children. And that was my favorite part of the job, because you would just see these like reactions from kids that were just their little souls pouring out of them. They're screaming with all their might. They're cheering. They're so happy. They're so present in the moment. And it was just so special. And I loved being able to pull that string. And I'm a bad guy a lot of the time. It's not the best feeling in the world to have people yelling you suck and terrible things.
Right.
But, I always enjoyed my role because I could create a story and a platform for the good guy to vanquish me. So I loved at the end being a part of an experience and a reaction from the audience that everybody was happy. Like, so much fun. The end of the story is always going to be the good guy wins, even if it's not that night.
Right.
Eventually, the good guy wins. And so, I mean, it's really hard to put into words, that goosebump feeling when you've really told a good story and the audience has come along with you for the ride. It's paid off and they just leave happy. Good movie.
It's so interesting to me, and I just hadn't thought this far into what this whole wrestling thing meant. Is like, it's not just you in the arena only focused on winning. You're focused on something so much bigger, this story, this connection, this evolution.
Yeah. And for us, like, it's interesting because we live with our characters our whole career. You know what I mean? Like, I was Beth Phoenix. I wasn't an actress playing multiple roles, right? I was just this one character. I lived with her for many, many years. And yeah, it's just really neat to take that character that's the foundation that whatever hit with the audience, whatever they like,
Mhm.
and then tweak that a little bit, take it in different directions, play the good guy sometimes, play the bad guy, and in the end, just send everyone home happy.
Yeah. So tell us about how you would pump yourself up before a match. Like what's going through your mind as you're walking towards that ring?
Um, I would always have to remind myself that I have a lot of performance anxiety, and when I would feel overwhelmed and overcome and like in panic mode, because part of being a pro wrestler is a lot of improv and a lot of being able to go with the flow. Things change, injuries happen. We're live television.
Mm.
So sometimes if a match before you runs over time, then they have to cut your match shorter. So we have to be able to edit and change, and you just have to be fluid. So
Mhm.
I would have to remind myself that I have to be in that present moment. And I loved being able to be a mediator and a leader for everybody in the ring and being able to communicate with everybody. So
Mm.
kind of being in a position where I would have to not, try to be a leader.
Mhm.
That made me have to step up mentally and kind of calm my nerves. It's like, if I'm a wreck, then that's going to filter everywhere. So I have to make sure I am centered before I go out there to make
Yeah.
sure it's the best outcome possible for everybody.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, they say like if you want to make a meaningful impact on the world, the best place to start is on yourself.
I mean, truer words were never spoken.
Mhm.
I can't control the audience. I can't
Right.
control TV, my bosses,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
I can control my reactions and how
Mhm.
I present myself. That's all you can do.
So, were there any wellness practices or like mindset practices you had in place during that time, perhaps that you still use today?
I wish I had had better mindful practices, because
Mhm.
at the time I felt like I ignored my needs a lot in
Mm.
favor of like, okay, if I'm feeling like sad or stressed or whatever, it's like I kind of
Yeah.
have to check all that right now because the show must go on type of mentality, which
Right.
I think is common in performance. And
Right.
maybe athletes would say the same. Like there's like, okay, I'll deal with that later. I'll compartmentalize that and
Mhm.
deal with it later. But I did bring little hobbies on the road, which would help me in my downtime. I wasn't like a big partier or anything.
Right.
So I love to crochet. So I would like,
Aw.
if I got back to the hotel and was having a hard time to wind down,
Yeah.
I might just pull out the needle, the
So cute.
yarn, and just like whip up a little hat or something. And
Yeah.
also journaling was huge
Mhm.
for me. I still journal. I know if I go back and read my journal, sometimes it's just a hodgepodge of mess, but
Yeah.
that helps me. Like I would just barf out whatever it was on my mind. It didn't have to make a whole lot of sense. Just that process of release
Mhm.
is really positive.
Yeah. It's so helpful. I'm a big journaler, emptying out what's ever in the mind. I
Yeah,
like to have a gratitude journal at the end of every day. I write down at least 3 things I'm grateful for that happened that day. And then before bed, in case there's anything on my mind that's kind of overwhelming, get it out in the journal.
100%. I think it's just normal. It's very human for
Mm.
the bad parts of our day to bubble up and come forward and just inform our emotions and inform our interactions with others, and just being intentional about looking back and having gratitude for the good parts of our day that are easier to overlook. I think that's a practice that like it just gets better and better with age. It
Mhm.
helps. It really does.
In 2012, you retired from WWE to focus on building a family. What was that transition like, stepping away from your very first love?
It was hard. I mean, at the time I was burned out because I had felt like I really wanted to see the women move forward be in a more positive presentation, less sexualized. I really wanted to see the women presented like athletes more.
Mhm.
We had been at times, but I thought there was still a lot of room for improvement. And I was about to be 31. So I was like, you know what, if I'm going to, a family was on my bucket list.
Mm.
I was like, if I'm going to pursue this in my life, I really need to start getting my ducks in a row and figuring out what the next chapter is. Plus,
Yeah.
I had really done what I wanted to do in wrestling. So at the time, like I had set course on leaving, which was so
Mm.
hard to walk into the boss's office and say, I gotta go. So I finished out that last contract and, worked up right up to the last day. And then
Wow.
it was really weird leaving that show because it was so ingrained in my life. It was all I'd ever wanted to do, think about, you know, study for, like
Yeah,
everything.
you lived for it.
I lived for it and I breathed for it. And the schedule was so intense,
Mm.
leaving that show, that very last show, and going home and then like taking a deep breath, waking up that next morning was like, it was a lot. It took me a long time to process what had even happened.
Now you have 2 daughters,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, our 2 daughters.
What has that been like for you bringing this next generation of women into the world? And what values and belief systems do you feel like are important or you want to instill in them?
So, I feel like I grew up, and we're still unfortunately in the position we haven't had a female president, and I bring that up, not to bring up politics, but, just the presentation of women's changed so much from the time I was a child, even
Mhm.
in media, like, you would see a Batman movie, you would see Spider-Man, you'd see, Superman, but Wonder Woman, not until the last few years, you didn't see like female-led superhero movies.
Right.
There was only Barbie dolls. There wasn't, there was a She-Ra. I got to give She-Ra her cred. But, there just wasn't as much content and presentation of women in these different roles. And I am so excited to have my children growing up in a generation where there's just more of that. Women
Mhm.
are not only doing more and more, and the fight for equality will remain forever, but one of the biggest values I try to instill in them is not ever accepting limitations in life. Like if my story informs them of anything, it's that
Mhm.
there's a way,
Yeah.
and having supportive, amazing people around you
Mhm.
is huge. I had wonderful men and women around me, um,
Mhm.
helping me, taking me by the hand and supporting me in the tough times. And I think family and perseverance would be the two
Mhm.
values that I instill in my kids.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, you're an example of if you really want it, you will make it, so long as you are committed and you believe in yourself. And we don't have to do it alone. There's so many, the coaches, the family, the friends, everyone to believe in yourself and share whatever it is that you want to do and wholeheartedly go after it.
Yeah, and I think like there's also something to like, just taking risks,
Mm,
taking risks for things you believe in.
yeah.
And um you even if you fall flat on your face, that's okay. It's not really this like you've got this one audition. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's life can be just a series of 5 steps forward, 10 steps back.
Mhm.
Because as long as you're learning from those setbacks, it's not a failure at all.
Yeah, I believe in failing forward. And no to me means just not right now. Try again. Try
Yeah,
again.
100%.
So I'm sure with you, I mean, was there anyone who questioned what you wanted to do or said maybe don't try that or tried to hold you back?
Oh yeah, especially
Yeah.
since when my parents were not on board at all in the beginning because they watched pro wrestling, and at the time, late 90s, early 2000s,
Mm,
women were in bikinis doing strip teases, and they were concerned for like, the just what's the safety in that and what does my life look like? And
right.
I've decided to forego my college education and everything and go on the road and, live on out of my car sometimes. And
Wow.
they were worried that I was setting myself up for struggle and disaster.
Mm,
And I, being a mom now, I understand those words
mhm.
much more. But young me was like, why can't you guys just support me? Why can't you just come along with me on this? Now with a different lens, I see how insane it was for me to come home and be like, I'm going to join the circus, essentially.
Right. Right. Was there ever a moment where you in those beginning stages when it was really difficult that you ever second guessed yourself or no?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100 times. Like as a matter of fact, right before WWE offered me a contract, I had I think I was like 6 years into being a
Mhm.
starving artist.
Mhm.
And I was working 2 jobs and I was in between shifts, and I came back to my apartment. I had a mattress on the floor. I like had my bills were all overdue. I had debt. And I just sat on that bed. I'm like, I think I got to go home. I think I'm broke. I can't, this isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen for me. And lo and behold, very shortly after that, I got the call that they're like, we want to offer you an opportunity. So
Oh my gosh.
it was right. I was right when I was
Yeah.
at the end of my rope that all unfolded for me.
Right when you needed it.
Yeah, it was good.
Keep believing, stay committed.
Yeah.
Yeah. People just see the highlight reel, right? They don't see those low moments. They kind of like gloss over that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's also by design because, we're supposed to be superheroes. You tune into us, now it's a little bit more we're behind the veil, but especially at that time when I started, you didn't want anyone to know like, man, I glued together these boots. Like these aren't like nice boots that I had, made by a seamstress or,
Wow.
these,
Yeah.
I bought these from Forever 21 and glued, gems to them. And like that part you didn't want people to know because we're supposed to present ourselves like superstars and be superstars, superheroes. But it was in the beginning, there was still, even when I got there, it was still a climb.
But once you've achieved great success, hearing those parts of the story become almost a favorite part because they're like, wow, look how far you've come, look how hard you worked to get where you are.
Oh yeah. I remember being in training and a very tenured wrestler I respect very much, Tommy Dreamer, had said, he's like, remember these years, these will be your favorite years. Like, because it's before we're getting paid very much. It's this whole cohort of wrestlers trying to make it. We're all hungry. We're all supporting each other. It was a fun era where we were trying different things and, we were just all young and crazy. And, and then it got real once we got on TV and there's like, bigger money at stake, bigger opportunities at stake, and there's more competitiveness, and it's more of a job than, students learning, trying to make it.
What's one thing about the wrestling industry or about being, a female wrestler that people may not know, or what you think would surprise us?
I mean, like I said, we've kind of like pulled the curtain back a little bit, but in the beginning, I remember, like wrestlers, and maybe this is still the case in mainstream culture that, wrestlers kind of have a stereotype of just being these big meathead muscle guys and muscle girls, that they're not maybe intelligent or not big readers or whatever. There was kind of like the bonehead stereotype for a while, but wrestlers are full of talent. And I think we see that more, but like, if you go to any wrestler backstage, somebody's a singer, somebody's like whipping out a guitar and can,
Wow.
like
Yeah.
you've got poets, you've got authors, like there's a whole plethora of amazing talent backstage, that I think now with the advent of social media, we can advertise that now about ourselves that we couldn't before. It was only on screen, but now everybody can kind of personalize their brand a little bit and show like, well, not only am I this, but I can also play the flute and, like all kinds of things, or I have an equestrian interest,
Yeah.
So
We're
a lot of talent.
We're all multifaceted.
Yes.
But so cool. That does sound like so much fun, like a traveling circus.
It is.
Yeah.
We're like a big vaudeville act, and but a big vaudeville act with a lot of muscles.
Yeah, lots of muscles.
Yeah.
So currently I'm on like a high protein and vegetable diet. Were you really strict on your nutrition when you were competing?
I was because the fear of wearing spandex every week kept me.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate. I have a predisposition to be a pretty muscular girl. Like I did ballet growing up, and I was, me and my little ballerina outfit, I was still like I had little muscles on my arms. I'm genetically pretty muscular, but yeah, I ate pretty clean for most of the time. We all did. We all lived on the road, and now like today's generation, they've got these like pre-made meals, which we use now. We love these. Like you can order. There's so many wonderful services where you can order like highly nutritional, dense meals with all your macros figured out. But back then, like if you got out of a show at 11 p.m. and all the restaurants are closed and you have to do a 200-mile drive, like we're stopping at McDonald's, we're ordering grilled chicken sandwiches and throwing the buns out and then just grilled chicken. And you couldn't really, you had to travel light because you had your suitcases. And so we didn't really travel with like food and coolers. You were just trying to figure it out as you go. So I ate a lot of protein bars.
Did you have a favorite?
I used to like those Supreme protein bars. I don't even know if they make those anymore.
Okay.
They were like this big and like
Oh my gosh.
you look at the macros, it's almost like a candy bar. Maybe not the best thing, but it hit the spot after a good big
Oh
long.
my gosh. That's amazing. So shifting gears a bit, you and Adam, your husband Edge,
Yes.
co-founded Pure Plank, aiming to revolutionize fitness at any age. Tell us more about this product and your inspiration for starting it.
Yes. So the co-founders are actually Jay Riso and Adam Copeland.
Okay.
And just to give you a little background on them. So my husband's Adam and Jay is his best friend. They've been best friends since 6th grade. So like their friendship is wild. They were best buddies, both from Orangeville, Ontario. And then Adam was like, hey, I want to follow. All he ever wanted to be was a wrestler as well. He followed his dream. And Jay, shortly thereafter, they became a tag team in WWE. They're like the most decorated tag team of all time. Between them, they have like, I don't even know, like 40 some championships, crazy amount of championships. And they're super iconic in our industry. So they both were forced into retirement due to injury. And with their injuries, we got deep into parenthood, enjoying our snacks and late nights and stuff. And all of us put on weight. And Adam had kind of a wake up call with his health and then also got the itch to go back to wrestling. So he started planking. He started watching his diet. He started exercising. But because he's had a wrist surgery, he's very immobile in his wrist. He can't do like your standard extended arm plank. So he planks on his elbows. He's got injuries in his elbows. It was just kind of like him and Jay were tossing around ideas for like, how could we make this more comfortable? And the two of them cooked up this crazy idea of this planking board with very amazing adjustable handles and a timer, a cushioned mat that's non-slip, very grippy. And they got on board together, literally, no pun intended, and created this product. And, I'm on the sidelines. I've had 2 C-sections, having 2 children. So I'm watching this all happen in real time. And I'm like watching my husband just get this like 8-pack. I'm like, oh, dang. Like, and, and he was very transparent with me about what he was doing in the gym. And so after my career and, weightlifting becomes difficult with injury. So I've gotten heavily into yoga, which also includes planking. So by proxy, I got kind of scooped into the little group. So yeah, this product has become an amazing focus for us. It's something we really truly believe in, and we're very into health, and also something us as wrestlers understand really well is back pain. We have a lot of back pain.
Yes.
It resonates with us when we hear stories of back pain and just how debilitating it can be in your life. And we learned from trial and error that the plank can be the most valuable exercise for somebody that struggles with neck pain or back pain. Doing sit-ups is not always comfortable, but planking is very accessible.
Wow. So does it vibrate?
Nope. It's
No. Okay.
stable board.
Stable board.
And it's adjustable for all shapes and sizes.
Okay.
And so for different exercises. And the handles move. So you can have as wide or as narrow of a grip to isolate different parts of your midsection. And there's an app that goes along with the board that if you are a beginner and you just need a place to start, there's a variety of workouts that can just get you moving. And honestly, like from jump, I having had 2 babies, like I couldn't do a plank on my toes. I had to do it on my knees. And I was very, even with a big career behind me in an athletic arena,
Yeah.
having children rocked my world physically. So I started really small, very short increments, and it doesn't take a lot of time in a day. It just takes consistency. So we created this product it's also very portable. It's easy to keep at home. You can slide it under your couch or under your bed and pull it out, and you could scroll on Instagram or TikTok while you're doing yeah. So it's just something that has a lot of benefit, especially from my experience if you've had a baby.
Well, hey, I've seen your fitness pics on Instagram and you're looking really fit. So people need to go check out Pure Plank.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Of course. Glamazon, As we begin to wrap up, what is next for you?
I am currently getting my yoga teacher training certification. So it's going to probably involve something in the holistic field as well, the wellness field. I love yoga. I'm a big time yogi and looking for the next chapter and how to bring that to others and continue on that journey for myself. So
Did I hear you maybe doing retreats?
yes. So myself and my business partner, Casey Kirsten, we founded Mountain to Sea Retreats, and we are partnering with Continuing Ed. This particular retreat will be for veterinarians, but we're going to be offering several retreats in destinations. This one will be in Costa Rica in March,
Beautiful.
and offering lectures to help veterinarians get their continuing education and also dip their toe into wellness and be in Costa Rica doing it. So if you follow me on Instagram, look for more opportunities to join us on a fun retreat in the future.
Amazing. I'll link that in the show notes. So you are a role model for countless women. What message, if you could leave one message for women aspiring to make their mark on the world?
It all starts with you. You have to love yourself, and it all starts with you and valuing yourself and your space in this world. It's really that simple.
Amen. It all starts with you. Beth, where can our listeners find you?
I am on Instagram. The Beth Phoenix is the best place to check out what I'm doing. There's a lot of dog videos on there. Just be forewarned.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Lauren. I appreciate the time.